Where people have been ranking their top 5 in every position. And this is important because we're going to be joined by Michael Bartner. Anybody on hockey TikTok or hockey social media, like maybe aware of him. And we're going to ask him these same questions. But before we get to that interview in about 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to start ranking our top 5 in each of these big positions. Centerman, wingers, defensemen. We're not going to do goalies. But did you want to do centers and defensemen? I'll do wingers, or do you want to do... How do you want to do this?
I've been talking for a bit, so let's hear you start off with either D or wingers. I'll do center, then you take the last one. And you know what? I didn't prepare for this, but I can take a shot in the dark at goalies. Why not?
Okay, so let's start with defensemen. For me, the only one clear answer for number 1, that's Cale Makar all day. Second, I have Victor Hedman. It's tough to disagree with what he's done. Like, you can't look past that, and he's still really good even though he's in his 30s now. And then next, potentially controversial because I'm going to surpass the guy who got the most points this year. I'm going to put Charlie McAvoy third.
Wow.
I love Charlie McAvoy, and that pains me to say as a Leafs fan. But I love a defenseman who can do it on both sides of the puck. I think McAvoy is the third best in the league at doing that. Mm-hmm. And he can do it on both sides of the puck. He carries that mangled Bruins decor all of last season, pretty much all the season before that too. So I think he's unbelievable. Fourth, I'm going to go with Roman Josi. Definitely needs to be in the top 5, but I don't think he's in the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was having a tough time to pick 5th, but I ended up picking Adam Fox. Because he's just too talented offensively, too hard to ignore. Also, as a Norris already, I imagine there's going to be a couple of more him trading with Makar throughout the stages of their career because they're both about the same age.
Mm-hmm.
That's my top 5 on D. Did you want to take...
I'm just interested because you said you didn't know who to put 5. Who was Adam Fox in the running with?
Well, that's the thing. Like, there were a bunch of just, like, names, but I didn't think any of them were, like, elite enough anymore. Like, Chris Letang is always good, but I don't think he's there. John Carlson's good. He's just not like, there. Yeah. And I thought Fox kind of came out on top. I think he's younger and marginally better offensively than both of those two.
Very, very true. I think that there are 4 like clear S-tier defensemen in the NHL. You hit the nail on the head with the first 4, and then the ones under him are like the Ekblads, the Carlsons.
Ekblad too.
Right? I think you throw Morgan Riley in the tier below.
Yeah, he's in and around there, but
there is a clear margin between these 4 and the next.
Yeah.
And as much as I don't like the Boston Bruins, it's insane to see how good Charlie McAvoy is and how disrespected he is. We talked about this a lot on other episodes too. Like, the guy 5-on-5 defensively, like, leads all defensemen in defensive metrics.
He's a monster.
And he's what, like 6'4"? He's a big boy.
He's a big
right?
dude. I don't know how big he is, but he's big and he plays mean.
And he puts up a lot of points as well. Anchors that first line power play was a beautiful, I guess not the word isn't replacement for Torrey Krug. I think they shipped out Krug because they knew how good McAvoy was going to be. But yeah, that's a good list. Should I do centers next?
Take it.
I'll keep this short. Like, it's like the defenseman. I think there are 4 clear centers in the league, and then the 5th one is a bit up for debate. Number 1, obviously Connor McDavid. Not too much points there. He wins the Ted Lindsay every year, except last year wins the Hart a lot of years as well. Like, Art Ross should be renamed to the Connor McDavid Trophy. Yeah. Number 2, come on, it's got to be Austin. It has to be Austin. I mean, for the first time, one of our TikToks hit 30,000, and one of the big reasons is because I said Austin Matthews is marginally better than Nathan MacKinnon. And you know what? I don't think there is a wrong answer to Matthews versus MacKinnon. They can go either way. I'm sorry. I can't remember ever watching hockey seeing a guy who puts up 55 to 60 goals every year and gets Selke votes. That is one thing I have never seen. Like, when you look at a player like Austin Matthews, who has that amount of like style and just like intangible flow, comes out, scores 60, you think he's one of these guys that doesn't play defense. But he is an animal. He is an animal.
He's everywhere, all over the ice.
I think when we talked about Patrice Bergeron, we talked about all those stats like Corsi for, like all of those defensive stats that you use to measure Selke winners. And Austin Matthews was in 3rd in the league among all of them. I think ahead of him were Barkov, and then it was Patrice Bergeron. But to score 60, put up almost 100 points, and then to get Selke votes, like, don't tell me he's not the second best center in the league. He can score 20 goals and still impact the team positively just because he's so good in the defensive zone. Next, I mean, I don't think there's an argument here. It's Nathan MacKinnon. Nathan MacKinnon showed this year after winning a cup, like, he can bring it in the playoffs. The biggest problem with the Colorado Avalanche was that, I mean, it was said very well in Nathan MacKinnon's interview last year when they lost. He's like, I've been in this league for 7 years and I haven't done anything. They couldn't win the playoffs, and now they put those arguments to bed. Nathan MacKinnon is a Stanley Cup winner. He's just so dynamic in the way he skates, and I think the best play to sum up the type of player he is. Remember that game against St. Louis when he took the puck from behind the net, went through the whole team and scored? I mean, he is clearly a game breaker type player. Nathan MacKinnon is number 3. Number 4, I'm kind of deviating away from my two-way things that I look for in a top 5 center. I'm going to go Leon Draisaitl.
Hard to ignore him.
Right? I mean, the guy is almost not a lock. He is a lock for 100, almost a lock for 110, it seems, every year. A lot of people mistakenly think he plays with Connor McDavid a lot. He will towards the third period in tight games and in the playoffs, but for a large part of the regular season, he's playing on his own. Yeah. And he puts up 100 and something points. Granted, a lot of those are on the power play, but he brings a lot to that power play. Last is where it gets a little bit, like 5, there's a lot of players here. Like, you can put Aho in here. You can put Stamkos in here. I'm going to go Sasha Barkov at number 5. Yeah. One of the problems that he's been injury-ridden his whole career. You can't really say that, like, that takes away from his abilities, but, like, at the end of the day, you want a guy who plays a lot to be in the top 5. I mean, Barkov last year, I think, only played like 67 games, put up 90 points. It seems like he's going to put up 100 next year. He's always over a point per game. And if it wasn't for Patrice Bergeron, he'd win the Selke every single year.
He'd be right there.
His ability to play two-way, I got to put him at 5. Do you disagree with anything?
No, really. I mean, if I were to do my own rankings, I might, like, just because, like, nostalgia, I might just put Sid at 5th just because he had a crazy season last year. Mm-hmm. But it's really hard to disagree with Barkov and what he's done with the Panthers so far. I'll quickly rip wingers before we hop over to Michael. Mm-hmm. And this was tough because I had, like, all wingers. And so there might be a lot of disagreement here. But let it happen. Let us know if you disagree in the comments below. But number 1, I got Kucherov. And when healthy, he is by far the best winger in the league, I think.
It's not close.
Second, I'm going to piss a lot of people off.
Oh, Mitch.
I'm going to piss a lot of people off.
Mitch?
I have Mitch.
There we go.
I have Mitch there because he is a two-way winger. Yep. He is the only player on this list. That's not true. But I think what he brings is so unique. He's very, very unique skill set. He plays penalty kill. He plays power play. He's really, like, I know that Matthews gets a lot of coverage here in Toronto, and for good reason. But I think Marner is honestly so important for the way the Leafs play and for the energy that he brings. Like, I love watching him play. I have him at 2nd, maybe biased. I don't really care. 3rd, I got Kaprizov.
Yeah, it's not a bad take.
I have him. He's just, I don't know. He's just so dynamic. And I've said this every time we talk about Kaprizov. I say this. I've never seen a player change a team so drastically in one offseason than Kaprizov changed the Wild. He has made them a contender last year. He's made them a team who's not going to be so devastated by the losses that they, or not the losses, but rather the fact that they couldn't add players this offseason because of those cap penalties they're facing. I just love watching him play. Almost scored 50. Unreal. 4th, I got Brad Marchand. It's hard. Like, even though he's injured and we don't know, hopefully he can, for his sake, he can return to the player he was. But based off of right now, I think he's inarguably a top 5 winger.
For sure. Two-way status.
Literally does everything. He's like, if I was a Boston fan, I'd probably have him 2nd and Marner 4th, but I'm a Leafs fan, so I got Marner ahead of him. Mm-hmm. But he's just so good at what he does. He scores, he hits, he's a pain in the ass, which is valuable if he's on your team and not if he's against you. And then similarly at 5th, I got Brad Marchand, American version, Matthew Tkachuk. Yeah. It was funnily enough, sorry Flames fans, it was between him and Gaudreau for 5th in the league. I just think Tkachuk brings a little bit more. We'll see how we can do now in Florida without Gaudreau and Lindholm on his wing. We'll see if he can kind of keep up that 100-point status that he's developed. But I think that he's a top 5 winger. He's a unicorn. He brings so much to the table, and he's on a great contract too. So that's my top 5.
You don't got Rantanen in there?
I was thinking about it, but I don't know.
You had Matthew Tkachuk at 5. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough. Like
There's so many good wingers. This is like it's subjective.
Kaprizov's a great take. Like you need to put Kaprizov in there. Very quickly before we go on to our interview, we have a couple minutes here. I'll just rip goalies that I think are top 5. Number 5, I got a slash here. I got Demko or Markstrom. I legitimately don't know who's better. Okay. Both are great in the regular season. I haven't seen Demko play in the playoffs much. Sorry, Canucks fans, but you got to get there first before me to see. Markstrom, apart from the Oilers series, like he wasn't even terrible in the Oilers series. He was great for the first couple. I'm going to give the edge to Markstrom just because he has playoff experience. Number 4, Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah.
Unbelievable goalie. I mean, Winnipeg's defensive core hasn't been great. I mean, they've never had a stud defenseman. Yeah, they had a bit of a down year
last year. But
has he won a Vezina? He's been close. I don't think he's won one. Has he? Okay, well, number 3, I think 3, 2, and 1. I think whatever order you put these guys in, it doesn't matter. Like, these need to be your top 3. UC Saros at 3, 100%. UC Saros took a defensive core that wasn't very good, minus Yossi. And I'm sorry, Yossi defensively is a below-average defenseman. He's just so good offensively. UC Saros was probably on pace to win the Vezina with him and Shesterkin before he got hurt. Number 2, sorry, Rangers fans, Shesterkin's at 2. He has to be at 2. He had a historic season last year. I just haven't seen him do it enough. I mean, a lot of them are going to say, oh, you know, he had a 930, like an expected goals of like under 2, like whatever, blah, 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 blah. Phenomenal. I'm sorry. He has had, if you just go player A and player B has had one season of eliteness, and player A, who is at number 1 here, is a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion, has won the Conn Smythe once. If Tampa won this year, he would have won it twice.
Track record gets him into first.
Right, yeah. And he's also not old. Like, I'm sorry, if you're taking a goalie right now to win you a Game 7 and to bring you starting a season just for 1 year, 32 out of 32 GMs take 31 out of 32 GMs take Andrei Vasilevsky, and one of them lies to themselves and takes on Shesterkin. And that is no disrespect to Shesterkin. Vasilevsky is just, he honestly has a case for being a top 7 player in the NHL. He does. Those are my top 5. We might get hate for it, but I'm not a goalie, so there it is.
Oh, that's a great list. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. And find the link to our full podcast and all our socials in the description down below.
Also, don't forget to turn on those notifications to get live updates on new videos that we release.